Namaste ji, namaste. Thank you so much for joining the channel. So let us start off with case laws relating to torts. White versus John Warwick and Company Limited. Warwick is also a university, but then the spelling is slightly different there. It is Ward, W-I-C-K, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a pretty fun university. Mostly the urban kids from Delhi, Bombay go there for their masters in marketing, or there's a one-year entrepreneurial course. Okay, anyway, now irrelevant details aside, let us come to the case law. But what I want you to focus is to what I want you to start to think as to why is this being taught to you. Because if you can figure that out, mind you, you will pretty much start excelling in the field of law. क्योंकि अगर आपने कहीं आगे जाके if you want to be successful, you want to be great even in academics, you want to clear your higher level law entrances, you need to know why in the bloody world am I being taught White versus John Warwick Company Limited in every goddamn law school of the country, and you will find this case everywhere. It is a very important case. So plaintiff and defendant. So plaintiff was a news agent and he was also a tobacconist. Now, irrelevant detail number one is that he was a tobacconist. If you remember it, great. You don't remember it, still great. Doesn't really matter. News agent obviously matters. So whenever you are doing these case laws, you need not remember these irrelevant details. And once you go through this series of videos, you will pretty much know what is irrelevant and what is relevant. Okay, so we need to focus on the relevant portions of the detail, which is here. So please watch it till the end, of course. He was a news agent. Defendant was a tricycle supplier. So tricycle supplier mein both of them got into an agreement. Well, then you supply me a cycle with a large newspaper stand at front. So here is my very funny looking cycle. So you supply me with this cycle basically, and I am going to distribute newspapers just as a standard tradesman tricycle basically. So they got into an agreement. This is a relevant detail. This fact you'll have to mention, all right. And then the rent etc. was decided. They got into an agreement, which is basically speaking contract. Hopefully you remember your LLB entrance by now, right? This said that repairs will be done by the defendant except punctures. So basically, again, similar to what happens usually जब आप रिक्शा अगर किराए पे लेते हैं. So mostly the rickshaws that you see on the road are on kiraya. So the puncher, the rickshaw puller fixes basically from his own pocket, but the rest of the repairs are with the owners. So in this case also, tricycle, the owners were the defendant, so they have agreed to let it to the plaintiff. Now what happens one day is that the owner is informed that, hey buddy, your tricycle needs repairs. So you take it and well, just repair and give it back to us as per our agreement. So owner also sends his representative. He sends it to the plaintiff's shop. That representative takes the original tricycle on which the owner is in a very funny way distributing newspapers. He just takes it and leaves a spare one at the shop कि जब तक हम repair करके देंगे, you use this one. Okay. When this basically action is completed, the plaintiff again takes his tricycle in the morning to distribute newspapers, and well, he files down, or rather falls down, not files down, falls down. अभी यहाँ पे higher लिखा हुआ है. The saddle basically of the tricycle isn't fitted properly, so basically seat डामाडोल हुई and he fell down and he sustained an injury to his knee as well. Now think, आ गई गलती सामने वाले की, therefore the case. Now you think at this point of time, before I get into what is negligence, what is breach of contract, forget all of that. You think पैसे बनते हैं कि नहीं बनते? As a judge, especially if you're looking for a judiciary level exam, as a judge, क्या इस आदमी के पैसे बनते हैं? Can he claim damages? Think about it. Let's come to the answer. So therefore, he sued for damages. कि भाई मेरे को मेरे पैसे दो. I have sustained an injury to the knee, and then you were supposed to give me a fit bicycle, but इसकी तो चलाते the saddle flipped. Basically, the saddle was loose. So his primary or his chief witness was also one guy called as Anthony, who also confirmed he was not employed by the plaintiff, but he also confirmed that there were rusty nuts and he was only employed for on a temporary basis to distribute newspapers. So he also confirmed, well, the saddle was quite loose and the nuts were rusty, etc. And they had like trouble in operating the tricycle. All right, now this guy is important here, Mr. Anthony. come to that why. So Mr. Plaintiff, he went in for two causes of actions, and when you are writing an answer for law in your semester exam, you're going to use this language. All right, so he set up two cause of actions. What were those two causes? That A, the defendant, that is the owner, owed me a duty of reasonable care. आगे LLB entrance के पटाखे जले in the background, right? पढ़ा होगा. Owed me a duty of reasonable care. Therefore, since he has done a breach of that duty, I am going to claim damages. Great. Point number one, have to mention it in your answer. I don't care whether you mention this or not. Obviously, you're going to mention some facts, and some of these facts are going to get left behind because you have a lot to write. But you have to mention this. All right. So what in back in the day, what I used to do is to extract more marks because the examiner isn't exactly interested in reading this again and again. I used to start off my answer with this. क्योंकि वो पहले ही पेज में समझ ले that I know. You can use the strategy if it suits you. Otherwise, start off with the facts like a normal average Joe. So you owe me a duty of reasonable care. Therefore, I am going to claim damages from you. Point number one or cause of action number one. Damages for breach of warranty. So under their contract, याद है यहाँ पे agreement हुआ था to supply, right? Under their contract, you had to supply me a tricycle, but it had to be reasonably fit. You didn't. So well, I'm going to claim damages. So on one hand, I am suing you for a tort. What do you mean by a tort? MCQ from your LLB entrance, a wrongful act, right? On what basis? Because of the breach of duty of reasonable care. And on the other end, I am suing you basically for contract as well. कि जो आपका मेरा जो contract हुआ था, आपने तो you breached that. So well, damages, right? Compensate me. Question number one. Can in one case both basically you can say cause of actions of tort and contract arise in the same circumstances? Can you sue for contract also, for breach of contract also, and can you sue for tort as well? The answer is yes. Because Justice Singleton here said that can you do this? Yes. From the same facts and circumstances, it is possible to sue for tort as well and to sue for contract as well. ये बात clear हो गई? Just because a case is going into contract, because you see, then the Indian Contract Act comes in. Obviously not in this case because we are talking about finance here, but the Indian Contract Act comes in. But can you want to sue for damages as well because there was a duty of care being owed to you? Can you do that? Yes. Okay. Now coming back to the facts of the case. So point number one, this is why this case law is being taught to you, so that you understand that tort and contract cases are not mutually exclusive of each other. कि just because आपने contract का file कर दिया, तो it is not a res judicata basically to a case of tort being filed in a court of law, right? तो tort भी जा सकता है, contract भी जा सकता है from the same facts and circumstances. So the owner, which is basically the defendant, said, "Hello, plaintiff भैया. Hello. Look, clause 11 of our agreement. The standard agreement that everyone has. Nothing in this agreement shall give us liability." Basically, I'm not quoting the exact words here, and neither do you need to write. Whenever you open any agreement that you have ever entered to, we are not liable for anything that you do with this product. Correct? So owner said, hey buddy, look at clause 11. I've already said that nothing in this agreement you have agreed to indemnify me. कि भैया मेरी कोई liability नहीं है. Whatever losses or whatever injuries that you suffer from my tricycle, हम नहीं. Okay. So lawyer also of the defendant, basically the owner, agreed that अगर कोई case बनता भी है, so it is only for a breach of contract. This, basically the exemption clause, which is clause 11 in this case, it saves me from the tortious action. Question number two, why this case law is being taught to you? Can such an exemption clause save you from what? From your liability, of course, right? Let us answer that as well. बट होपफुली दिस इज क्लियर. सो दिस इज, अगर आप यहाँ पे रियल लाइफ में भी देखेंगे, एवरीथिंग कम्स विद दिस केस लॉ. नथिंग इन दिस अग्रीमेंट, यही होता है कि जी हमारी कोई जिम्मेदारी नहीं, which is basically where you are indemnifying. By entering into this agreement you are indemnifying, and then you know, up till now, since you weren't a student of law, up till now you would have been, यार लिखा तो हुआ है कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में, अब तो हम इसका कुछ कर ही नहीं सकते. कर सकते हैं, कर सकते हैं under a case of thought. So Justice Jennings, this name you will see a lot when you're studying common law case laws, that is case laws from England. That दो point इन्होंने उठाए, which was Donoghue versus Stevenson. There's another case law which we'll come to later, which is the most crucial case law in torts as well. So दो case laws है, आप basically दो pointers से rather we have to think about the exemption clause, whether it's saving you from any liability. If the exemption clause exempts you from any liability, the words of the contract which the plaintiff had entered into voluntarily, the words have to be beyond any scope of misunderstanding if it saves the defendant from liability. So those clauses have to be really elaborate. That is why in our own contracts, also in real life, those clauses are really elaborate. That will be your job basically as a lawyer. You'll have to draft out those clauses depending on the facts and circumstances of the case, and you're going to make good money on that. All right. And then the exemption clause, he said, Justice Denning said, the exemption clause can maybe save you from the strict liability that you owe me a duty of care under any and all circumstances, but it does not save you from the tort of negligence. All right. तो contract जो clause है, basically Justice Denning ने observation दी, so it can save you from this side, basically this cause of action, but it can't save you from negligence, the duty of reasonable care that you owed to the other party. You cannot escape it despite putting in an exemption clause. समझ में आई बात? तो अगर आपने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में, लेट मी गो टू हिंदी फॉर 10 सेकेंड्स, अगर आपने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में ये लिखवा भी लिया कि नथिंग, मेरी तो कोई जिम्मेदारी नहीं है, तब भी you still owe a duty of reasonable care to the other person. You can't, like for example, let us say the car manufacturer knows that the battery is defective and is about to explode, but still sells you the car with it, and then but makes you sign one contract that says nothing, now any injury that you sustain from the car, we are not liable. That will defeat the entire point of justice, right? So you can still sue them, because despite this clause being there, you can sue them under a case of torts. But वो जो clause है उनको किस case से बचा देगा? Breach of contract, basically their contractual obligation, you have indemnified them, but उसमें भी condition है that those words have to be beyond any scope of misunderstanding. Hopefully, am I making any sense whatsoever? तो जस्टिस जेनिंग भैया ने कहा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट से तो बच जाओगे, नेग्लिजेंस से नहीं बच पाओगे, even after you have put in an exemption clause. All right. So this is why you were taught this case law. So the exemption clause will save you from the breach of contract. It is protecting the defendant here in the present case, but not negligence. Okay. So the ratio is the claim that is being founded here, it is founded on tort and not on contract. Contract se bach gaye defendant. Now the servant example. So Justice Saab used one servant example, that let us say that Mr. Anthony was actually, riding the cycle and he was the one who fell down. Does the owner, that is the defendant, still owe a duty of care to the servant as well? Because tricycle to nahi ki hai. Obviously yes, right? So in this case, when the owner owes a duty, so therefore in this case as well, when the owner is giving the tricycle to the plaintiff, you owe a duty. All right. So therefore, it said duty to aapki banti. And one line that I want you to write in your answer, which I have here. I just intentionally didn't put it in here. Okay. Breach of that duty. Which duty? This duty. The one that you owed even to the servant is a tort which can be established without relying on any contract at all. This duty you can still establish. Contract side mein hai, duty of reasonable care, you still owe despite an exemption clause being there. All right. So this is basically the case. Now you will say, where is the decision? You will have to look up in the internet. Homework for you. What eventually happened? Go in the judgment. Look it up. थोड़ा सा काम आप करेंगे. But in the exam, they are not looking for what happened eventually in the judgment. They don't care. They care whether you understood these two cause of actions arose: damage for breach of warranty, and then the plaintiff basically, or rather, sorry, the defendant owing you a duty of reasonable care. These 2 points you have understood. The examiner cares about this. Then the examiner cares whether you are able to explain that despite an exemption clause being there, you will still owe a duty of reasonable care. You cannot run away from the tort of negligence. All right. So another question that can come in your exam is, they can give you this very story that A entered into a contract for a tricycle to be supplied. Basically, they're going to remove everything. They're going to remove, the name. They will not tell you the case law name. They will not. Then they can ask you A, whether to decide. B, whether they can ask you to explain that why contract, say, basically won't be applicable to this case and only a tort. And they will just leave the option to you that just explain कौन सा case लगेगा इसमें, tort या contract का. So you then will quote this case law, and then instead of writing page upon page कि वो साइकिल से गिर गया, उसको घुटना टूट गया, उसका सैडल उल्टा हो गया था, उसके अग्रीमेंट में ये था, उसके nobody cares. Absolutely nobody cares. This is the thing that you focus on. All right. And if it's, let's say, 10 marker, you just introduce the case with some tiny minor facts like this. You go into the depth of this, and then you get your insanely high amount of marks. Great. चलिए जी. Now see you in the next one. इतना ही है. यही आपकी दुक्की में लिखा हुआ है, यही किसी किताब में लिखा होगा. किताब में they go to much more theoretical and academic aspects, which basically is useful for UPSC law optional and not for your purpose. But then, this is theoretical and academic aspects. Pretty much you quote this in the UPSC law optional. I'm sure that you'll be scoring really good marks there as well. That's about it. See you on the next one. Take care. Bye.